turn off your mic if you don't need it, and then turn it back on. All right, you're live. Go.
Good evening. Namaskar. This is the 5th day of our talk series about Mata Lalleshwari. This morning we had an interesting and very enriching session with Dr. Motilal Panditji. And now this is the second session of the day. What we have learned and understood in the past few days, that Mata Lalleshwari and Kashmir Shaivism cannot be thought of or talked about distinctively. They both go hand in hand. Her life, her poetry is a reflection of Trik Sadhana, Shiva philosophy. All other myths about her being against any tradition or any religion have been debunked by our scholars and researchers. Mata Lalleshwari is all about connecting to the Shiv Tattva, to the universal consciousness. May that light keep guiding us, shine upon us always. Now, moving on to our session, it is an honor to introduce our today's speaker, Mr. Avatar Krishan Razdanji. He is one of the most revered member of our team. We have been working with him on various ancient Sharda manuscripts and various other projects for quite some time now. He is our mentor, our guide, and an extremely genuine and a wonderful person. Mr. A.K. Razdanji is a transcendental meditator for more than 30 years and a very dedicated student of Sanatan Dharma for more than 50 years now. Let us hear him out. Mr. A.K. Razdanji, over to you.
Namaskar. Hello, friends. I'm A.K. Razdan from Greater Noida, West. Some time back, I was approached by LallaJayanti group administrators to be part of a group formed to celebrate the 7th 100th centenary of Mata Lalleshwari. I am no scholar of Lalla's writings, but I have been interested in knowing deeper purport of Lalla works since my childhood from my grandfather about 50 years back. Well, later I started studying Lalla a little more seriously. I found that everyone had tried to interpret these works differently as per their understanding. I agreed to be a member of the LallaJayanti group. इसको थोड़ा नीचे करो, ये कैसे नीचे जाता है, इसको करो यहाँ पर, लाओ यहाँ पर, ये कैसे नीचे जाता है, कैसे Sorry for the interruption. I agreed to be a member of the LallaJayanti group and started posting one walk of Mata Lalleshwari daily on this wall with brief commentary as per my own understanding. There seem to be many interpolations in some walks, and some of the walks are said to be not genuine Lalla walks. However, that is for the scholars to deliberate upon and sort out. I certainly don't claim to have any such scholarly credentials. Going to the topic at hand, it is generally believed that Mata Lalleshwari was born in 1320 AD, when Kashmir was passing through the most difficult period of political and social history. King Sahadeva from Lauhara dynasty had ascended the throne in 1302. He was a strong ruler, but became very unpopular because he levied high taxes on his subjects. This resulted in simmering discontent and unrest in the country. The nobles, who included some Ladakhis and Muslims, who had by then migrated to Kashmir from Central Asia, were secretly conspiring against the king. The kingdom started to sink socially, morally, spiritually, to the lowest depths of falsehood, intrigues, dishonesty, and discord. There was widespread chaos everywhere in the society. When the revolt within increased, Sahadeva could contain it no more. He fled the country, and his army commander, Raja Ramachandra Deva, hid himself in Lar Pargana. In this turmoil, Ranjan, a Buddhist from Ladakh, who was one of the nobles, was successful in usurping the throne in 1320, the very year in which Mata Lalleshwari was born. Ranjana married Kotarani, the young daughter of Commander Ramachandra Deva. However, in this tumult, the fight for power continued, and Ranjan was killed in 1323 after ruling Kashmir for 3 years only. The widow queen Kotarani, however, took charge and became the queen as a regent of her infant son, Haider. After Ranjan ascended the throne of Kashmir, he had converted to Islam because the Brahmins did not allow him to embrace the Sanatana Dharma. On the advice of her minister, Kotarani invited Sahadeva's brother, Udyana Deva, to be the king and offered to marry him. Udyana Deva proved to be a weak king, and it was Kotarani who was effectively the ruler during his rule from 1323 AD to 1338 AD. After the death of Udyana Deva in 1338 AD, she ignored the claims of both her sons to the throne, one of whom was from Ranjan, other was from Udyana Deva, and continued to rule the kingdom herself. Within a year, in 1339, Shahmir, one of her Muslim nobles, succeeded in deposing her and declared herself as king. He proposed to marry her, but on a refusal to marry him, Shahmir imprisoned her and ordered the killing of both her sons. Kotarani died a year later during her incarceration. Thus started an uninterrupted 500 years of Muslim rule in Kashmir. In these trying, turbulent, and tumultuous times, Mata Lalleshwari was born. By the time Lalla had reached about 20 years of age, everything in Kashmir had changed morally, socially, ethically, economically, and spiritually. Everything had turned topsy-turvy in Kashmir. En masse conversion, loot, plunder, rape, forceful conversion, general massacre of those who refused to convert became the order of the day. The huge and magnificent temples were plundered, libraries housing millions of books and manuscripts were burnt to heaps of ashes. Corpses of Kashmiri Pandits were dumped into the Dal Lake at a particular spot, and it soon got filled to the lake surface. This place is still known as Bata Mazar, graveyard of Bhattas, the Pandits. As was the custom in those days, girls were also imparted education, and Lalla was no exception. She must have been introduced to Trikha Darshana from her very early age. Such a brilliant and an educated girl was married in a Pandit family of Pampur, a town just 7-8 kilometers from Srinagar city. Her in-laws did not take a liking towards her serious spiritual pursuits. They wanted the young daughter-in-law to take charge of the family chores and raise children. She was treated very badly and was even starved a number of times. In presence of some guests, her mother-in-law would put a boulder, a pestle, in her food plate and cover it with a thin layer of rice. Lalla would take that small quantity of rice, wash the plate and pestle and keep it back in the kitchen without ever complaining. There was once a feast in her in-law's house. A girl from her neighborhood asked Lalla what were the preparations made for the feast. Lalla replied, "Hond mertan ya kat, lali nilavat salinasa." Let them kill a lamb or a goat. For the feast, I have but a boulder served to me in my food plate as usual. In this tumult, Lalla continued her studies and her sadhana and never complained about the treatment meted out to her. Her remaining silent and not telling anything, not revolting against anything, this infuriated her mother-in-law and her husband all the more. Lalla would quietly attend to the domestic chores in her in-laws. She would feel a little relaxed only when she would go to the riverbank to fetch water for the family. One day she got engrossed in a chat with with the village maidens at the riverfront, and she got late for home. Carrying a pitcher of water on her head, she started heading towards her home. Her angry husband met her in the way and asked her where she was for such a long time. Lalla, as usual, kept mum and hastened her pace towards her home. Her husband got so angry by her silence that he picked up a stick and hit the earthen pitcher on her head. To his amazement, he saw the pitcher broken to pieces, yet not a drop of water was spilled. She reached home and filled all the pots with water. Yet there was more water left on her head without any container to contain it. She threw it outside and a huge pond was created in the compound. This pond, even to this day, is known as Lallatrag, Lalla's pond. This miracle exposed her spiritual prowesses in her in-laws and the immediate neighborhood. This episode became the turning point in her life. She was by then 26 years of age and decided to leave her husband at an in-law's house for good. Not much is known about her, whether she went back to her parental house or started her search for an able guru to guide her. Let us analyze some of the walks which have been spoken by her through different phases of her spiritual evolution. Let's take first her when she had intense and deep yearning to know the truth. Let us start with those walks. Lalit Lalit Vadabavai, Chata Muhuj Pei Chamai, Rosi na Patan Loho Lag Richai, Nija Sarup Kyaji Mothu Chahai. This walk of Mata Lalleshwari is an expression of deep pangs in her early quest for spiritual realization. She was feeling disconsolate and yearning from within, weeping and sobbing, restless and distraught. She understood that her efforts were going in vain. Here she counsels her own mind and pleads thus, "O my chitta, my mind, why do you get deluded by worldly attachments and aversions? These worldly pleasures, these attachments are transitory, and not even a shadow of these possessions are everlasting. These cannot stand by you forever. Alas, how have you forgotten your own identity, that you are nothing but self-divine?" The evolution starts when a seeker clearly sets goals to be achieved. These goals are not heaven above or the hell below. It is neither the search for the Devta nor in Devis. It is just one thing called self. The innate content in all of us. The real process of seeking begins when seeker's own self becomes paramount for him, her, in all respects. It gradually became his, her all. It shines as the only entity of the search, the sole pursuit and discovery. True that we are looking outwards at the world we are born in. We consider our life and its needs variously. But the fact remains that all these factors, these earnings and savings, feeding and breeding, devolve ultimately on me, the real me in I. If there is no me, the self in me, you and all, there is no thought, there is no attachment, there is no aversion, no need for anything whatsoever. The self is therefore the basis, the beginning, and the end of all. The only thing to be fundamentally understood is the self and nothing else. By knowing the self, we shall become all-knowing. Her pangs and her yearnings still continue, and she says, "Ami pan sadaras navish haslaman, katiboj daimyon metidiyatar, amin taken ponjan shaman, zuchum brahman dargasaha." With a slender thread of untwisted yard, I am towing my boat across the ocean of samsara. Would it be that he answers my prayers and ferry me safely across to the other shore where bliss absolute is? My personal efforts are just like collecting water in unbaked clay pots, where the pot itself sucks it. Without His grace, all my efforts are futile. My intense yearning to cross over, search my home, reach my home, my desired destination is wrenching my heart asunder. Then, such strong and intense yearning forces her to seek a guru. She meets her guru Siddha Srikanta, and the guru's grills her more before imparting her that paravidya, that highest knowledge to her. A true guru ultimately leads a true seeker on her path. Neither sacred books, nor any amount of charity, nor hundreds of pranayams can give us the knowledge about our own self. But a mind, along with its thoughts and all arguments having subsides, can help us gain that experience. Lala's intense yearnings and deep introspection made her to look for a guru. Divinity intervened and brought her to the feet of a perfect guru, Siddha Srikanta, who it is believed was the direct descendant from the lineage of Acharya Vasugupta, the compiler of Shiva Sutras, who rediscovered the Trika Darshana as we know it today in its present form. Her Guru Sri Kantha took his own time to initiate her into his fold. In this walk, Lala says, 1,000 times I asked my Guru, Goras Puchom Sasilate, how do we define one who is without a name or form? Goras Puchom Sasilate Yasna Kehvanan Taskyahnao. Hearing her question, Guru remained silent and did not answer her question in spite of repeated pleadings by his disciple. He probably saw that his Shishya needs to go through a little more grinding and polishing. Lala, feeling drained and tired, touches the lucis, introspected deeper and deeper to know the reason for her guru's silence, and suddenly the answer to her question came from within. She realized that every name and form in this vast universe has come out of that one nameless and formless being. She realized the truth as it is declared by Mother Shruti. The ultimate truth is that where words turn back together with the mind not having attained it. Again it says, Anyatra bhutha cha bhavyacha. It is separate from what has been and what has to be. And yet further it says, Yasmin akshare akasha otancha praotancha. It is the imperishable, it is in the imperishable, that vast expanse of ether and space is contained. It is across him that space is woven, wrapped, and wove. When she realized the truth, she said, Makris malzan solum manas, adme labum zanas zan, suyili dutum nishe panas, sori suita bunoke. The same statement was issued forth from Raja Janak when he understood the truth. He said, Aho niranjana shanto bodhoham prakrate para. Etavantaham kalam moham naiva vidambita. Oh, I am taintless, serene, pure consciousness and beyond nature. So long I have spent my days in bewilderment and delusion. Lala in this walk says, following the instruction of my guru, I continue my sadhana. I felt all the dust from my mind's mirror suddenly cleared, and I beheld him pervading everything, everywhere, and every being. All the distance between him and me bridged, and I found him so very close to me. He became all, and I, Lala, got reduced to nothingness. The drop, Lala, merged with that all-pervading vastness to become the ocean, he. My precarious drop identity was lost in the vastness of that ocean forever. Her Guru's instructions, when ultimately her Guru saw that she was ready to receive the Paravidya, the Guru instructs her, Siddha Srikanta instructs her, fear not, my child, there is no danger for you. There is a way to cross over the ocean of change. I shall instruct you in the very path by which the ancient Rishis walked to the beyond. Siddha Shrikanta, having tested his disciple and satisfying himself that his Shishya is ready for the flight to the highest realms, he speaks to her and bestows upon her all protection from fear. He utters the sacred mantra in her ear and properly instructs her on how to proceed. In this walk, Mata Lalleshwari says that Guru, having uttered the mantra, Varan Vonnam Kunai Vachun, Nebrai Vonnam Andarachun. He uttered the mantra in my ear, instructed me to move away from the objective world of things and beings to the subjective realms of all encompassing self. Nebrai Dupnam Andarachun. This one word received from my Guru, the mantra and the instructions how to proceed, that very moment became the very purpose of my life. Sui lalimyagau vaakta vachu. All my apprehensions, all the obstacles in my path suddenly cleared, and my unhindered journey onwards to the glorious knowledge, to that glorious knowledge that truth and bliss absolute began in right earnest. Sara, please show that Sharda walk. All walks, quatrains of Lalita comprise of 4 lines. But as can be seen in this Bhojpatra, birch-bark, Sharda Lipi manuscript, only 3 lines are written, and the whole manuscript ends there with Iti Lalleshwari Vakyani. Here ends Lalleshwari's Vakyani. The manuscript must be very old, but why did the manuscript writer not mention the 4th line? Only in this quatrain is very intriguing. This shows that there was even then a controversy about the 4th line of this walk. The line that is attributed as the 4th line of this walk in many publications doing rounds at present looks like a deliberate and mischievous interpolation. Since this 4th line is not part of the Sharda manuscript, I have not touched upon this. I have given the Devanagari transliteration of the walk on the Bhojpatra manuscript itself, word for word as it is written in the Sharda Lipi. There is a fable in Kashmiri, Aaye Vernista Gai Kandras, which has a fake narrative woven around it to prove spiritual superiority of a proselytizer from Hamadan to justify the interpolation in the 4th line of this quatrain. Now third phase is when she, following the instructions of her Guru, Lalla experiences a complete transformation. Vavuch graya panas vuchin, panas dichim sudring vas, danas andar damadam melis, gwanan provum mutrit bar. Once a sincere seeker realizes his true nature and understands who he is, he settles down for contemplation on that absolute truth. He is convinced that he is not this finite body, mind, intellect, or ego equipment, but is the eternal, Nitya Supreme Brahman, that Shiva Tattva, that I-ness, that being that's everlasting and eternal, pervading everything that moves or does not move. In this walk, Lalla says that I experienced complete transformation, graya vichampanas, and find the subjective self and the objective world outside, panas dutum, blissful and in ecstasy. Moment by moment and day by day, dhamma, in my meditation, dhyanas andar, I felt elated and evolving. My 3 mortal qualities of satogun, rajogun, tamogun seemed to escape as if from the door left open by me, gwanan trovum mutrit bar. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna exhorts Arjuna, be you above 3 mortal quantities, moral attributes, O Arjuna, and free yourself. Nistray gunya bhava Arjuna. Yusa mali hedyam gelam te maskar karyam, soha mali manas karyam nizam. Shiveli panunui anagreh karyam, melu pehadun karyam kya. As spiritual seeker in his or state of supreme bliss, which illumines everything, remains unaffected and untouched by the blemishes of the worldly transactions like hate and avarice, attachment and aversions, greed, anger, pride, conceit, harshness, etc. Such a man of pure knowledge walks the path of Shreyas, Shreyomarga, that which leads to state of highest perfection. He abandons the path of Prayomarga, and the worldly pleasures are no more able to shackle him. What exists for such a yogi is pure eternal consciousness, Nityam Param Brahma, and he knows that that alone he is. Tadaiva hasmi, Tadaiva hamasmi, I am only that. Mata Lalleshwari, having attained the Bhairava Avastha, started roaming here and there, singing her walks, oblivious of her demeanor and all social rules. The ignorant people started mocking and ridiculing her. Mata Lalleshwari, from her lofty pedestal of spiritual glory, addressed them through this walk thus: the ones who mock me, ridicule and abuse me, Yusamali Hedem Gelem Tamaskar Karem. I harbor no ill will towards them. Sume Manas Karem Nizam. How can this ridiculing and these jibes disturb me? Men loop Hedem Karem Nike. If I am perpetually blessed with Shiva's grace, Shiv Yele Panuni Anugrah Karem, men loop Hedem Karem Kya? You say. Second walk is Tot Modur Tai Mute Sahar. Just Yusyut Sunun Jatan Bav, Yemiat Kari Kalt Kahar, Sutat Shar Vatitya. Sanatana philosophy is never tired of declaring that man is essentially divine by nature. The call of the higher is therefore in the bosom of every one of us. However, while facing challenge of life, we know not the right direction in which to turn. The scriptures, like a true compass, always indicate the right direction, but due to our blinding ignorance, we are not able to read the compass correctly. The nature sends sages and saints and gurus from time to time to direct us on the right path and to steer the ship of our life with love, faith, and devotion. Mata Lalleshwari, a great yogi, appeared on the scene when there was chaos and confusion all around in Kashmir. In this walk, Lalla exhorts us to be vigilant when we have to make a choice whether to go by the path of pleasure, prayo, or whether to go by the path of shreyas. The path of pleasant, prayo, as name suggested, pleases us, fascinates us, and we are anxious to go by this path. So long as we think we are just body, mind, intellect, and ego, this path seems alluring, and we start walking this seemingly pleasant path. This apparently looks pleasant and ultimately putrefies into enlarging ripples of disappointments and sorrows, and we begin to fall deeper and deeper into this mire. Tot Modur Mute Sahar. This sweet path is like poison. In striking contrast, the path of good Shreyo may look detesting in the beginning, but later on, it leads to greater happiness and sense of fulfillment. What looks and tastes bitter to start with ultimately turns out to be the very sweet and satisfying nectar. Tutmodu. It all depends on our individual choice that we make. If we use our intellect and faculty of discrimination, we can live a life of everlasting bliss and fulfillment. The choice is always ours. Yasyut sunun jatan bhav, jiska jaisa bhav. As our determination and power of discrimination, so is the result that we get. Yem yetkari kalt kahar. Your intention and your action determines the result. Sutat shahar vatitya. The above walk of Mata Lalleshwari looks like a spontaneous expression of a verse shloka from Kathopanishad, issuing forth from her bosom. Both the good and the pleasant approach mortal man. The wise man examines them thoroughly and discriminates between the two. The wise man prefers Vreniti, the good over the pleasant, but the ignorant one chooses the pleasant for the sake of his body through greed for material wealth. योग प्लस खेम, धन कमाने की लालसा एवं जमा करने के बाद उसको सुरक्षित रखने की चिंता. He remains in constant worry for its safekeeping and holding on to that wealth, objective things and beings. Roaming in ecstatic bliss and giving sermons to the common man in these lanes and bylanes of Kashmir, the last phase when she goes on giving sermons to the people, the common people. I don't know whether this walk is Mata Lalleshwari's walk or not, because I cannot say, because in the book I have seen, in Lalleshwari's book, I have seen this walk, but it is not mentioned in many other books. Nar gachi salun, ar gachi galun, ohor gachi kadun, wapal hakas tahande, had gachi ratun, tamad gachi walun, veh gachi salun, ad acha grande. Shub gachi kanchin, to loob gachi marun, pan gachi navun, emi sinde. The essential nature of the man being absolute freedom, he detests any shackles being put on him. He does not relish being told what to do and what not to do. Any precepts or code of conduct to him are like a red rag shown to a bull. He naturally revolts against the idea of spiritual discipline and self-denial. All religious scriptures and great masters instruct us to intelligently try to understand and appreciate the necessity of self-restraint. Even a true seeker, before adjusting to these injunctions and self-discipline, feels a revolt from within, like a raging fire, from which he again and again tries to escape and begins to pity himself. A few lucky ones who are able to stand up firmly against these initial revolts gradually learns to calm down and earnestly begins to make attempts for self-development. He gradually and voluntarily appreciates the necessity of self-restraint and control over sensual desires, and gladly accepts to walk the path leading to their own good. Mata Lalleshwari in this walk says that to control emotional attachments, physical cravings, and intellectual pursuits are not easy to overcome if you intend to focus your attention on spiritual core, which is your real nature. You have to go through a mill to crush your ego to dust and douse the raging fire within. By your sheer will, nar gets solved. Self-pitying has to be abandoned, ar gets galun. Gluttony has to be given up and sense of taste has to be curbed. Ohor, ahar, food has to be simple and sattvic. Vapal hafta. Limits have to be reset to become humble, where there's no room for pride. Had gache ratun, the mad gache wal. All these restrictions initially look like a potent poison, but you have to gulp down this poison. You have to gulp down this poison to be counted to walk on the path of truth. Veh gache salum, ada acha grande. Your seeking should be to explore your infinite dimensions of supreme bliss. Therefore, total dispassion from all material cravings is required from you. O true seeker, shub gachi kanchin to loob gachi maru. Without such thorough cleansing from within, pan gachi naun ami sende. Without such thorough cleansing from within, with the waters of disciplined self-restraint, no redemption is possible. Yet, in spite of her sermons and her advice, every common man does not understand it. Therefore, those who are not able to understand or understand her sermon, her instructions, she has one more quote. Dachinis oberas zayun zanha, sadras zanha kadini at, meninis ruges vadyut zanha, mudas zanha nevinti kat. Unless there is within us an intelligent principle that can carefully cognize that there is nothing in the objective world of things and beings that can satisfy our innate desire for peace and joy, there can be no redemption for us. To a true seeker who feels that inner urge to find a way out of this perpetual chaos and confusion, his sincere self-introspection alone can lead him to search that peace, that joy from within. He alone will start a subjective search to reach that glorious portal of truth. Those who do introspect and investigate into the nature, constitution, and function of the subjective self are referred to. Those who do not introspect and investigate into the nature, constitution, and function of the subjective self are referred as Muda in Sanatana Shastra. In this walk, Mata Lalleshwari says that I can, if you so wish, diffuse the rain-bearing southern clouds. When we face east, south is always on our right side, therefore Dachnis Obras Zayan Dan. I can even drain the whole ocean dry. Sadras Zanha Kadti Ach. I can even cure a person suffering from incurable disease, leprosy. But it is beyond me to counsel a fool. Mura. Medinis Rugyas Vadut Zanha, Mudas Zanha Vintika. In Pranav Gita, a similar predicament is expressed by Duryodhana also to Lord Sri Krishna. When he says, Janami dharmam nachame pravrati, Janami adharmam nachame nivrati, Kaya Hrishikesha hradyastatena, Yatha nikto se tatha karoni. O Hrishikesha, Hrishikesha is the name of the Lord. It means one who has full control over his senses. I know what virtue is. Duryodhana says to Lord Krishna, I know what virtue is, but I don't have any inner inclination to practice it. I know what vice is, but I have no power to desist from it. O thou Lord of the senses, unless by your grace I am impelled to change from within, it is beyond me to change. That inner urge, that restlessness for unbound joy and everlasting peace and tranquility, that awareness that the objective world is not the field of that search alone can lead us to our goal. The real purpose of our being given this human body is to know our own self. The urge should be to know who am I, what was I sent here for. As Mata Lalla in one of her walks says, Niyam karyot garba, sataspeyi karba. Marne bronchi marba, marit martab hudi. Niyam karyot garba. You had made a resolve in your mother's womb to know your true self. Tataspeyi karba. When shall you redeem that pledge? Marne bronchi marba. Kill your world of desires before you are claimed by physical death. Marde bronchi marba, marit martab hudi. You will attain immortality. Our koti pranam to Mata, Param Yogini Mata Lalleshwari. May she shower her grace on us so that we too are impelled to change from within. Tathast. I shall conclude with a walk where Mata Lalleshwari herself describes her about her immortal presence, being beginningless and endless. I, Lalla, am witness to the pralaya, dissolution, and creation again and again thrice over. I was there as well when the whole cosmos seemed to be filled up to brim and even overflowing, with nothing but the sky alone being reflected in this unending and shimmering sheet of water. I am a witness to Satisara, Kashmir Desha, stretching as a homogeneous body of water from the peaks of Kausarnag, Vishnupad, to Haramukh, Gangabal, which could be bridged, Sum. Sum in Kashmiri means a bridge, to cross over from one peak to another peak. 7 times have I seen the lake vanishing, drying up, and getting filled again to the brim. I am a witness to the dissolution of the universe 7 times over, when there was nothing but absolute void. Mata Lalleshwari, through this quatrain, walk, describes her Srupa as Mother Divine, who is beginningless and endless. Ananta, there never was a time when she was not, nor will there be a time when she will not be. May her omnipresence guide us towards knowledge, the true knowledge, our billion prostrations to this great yogini who walked through the lanes and by-lanes of the land of our forefathers 700 years ago. Adi Shankara in his Brahma Jnana Valli says, Gunatraya Vyatitoham Brahmadinam ch Sakshyaham Anantanandarupoham Ahameva Hamavyayaha. I am without three gunas, the mortal qualities of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. I am witness to the creation of the very creator, Brahma, and the Trinity, Brahma Adi. I am of the form of endless Ananda. I am that I am which is irreducible and endless spectre. Mata Sharika Sarupa Lakshishwari also asserts this very fact in her very famous Suanubhav Ullas Dashkam. Yugo Yugantar Sanyas Varnam. Turya Atita Tasa Prasindoham. Achintha Rupam Paramakaram. Sathar Kevaloham Param Brahmasoham. I have been a yogini, an ascetic in every yuga, in every epoch, always beyond the fourth state of consciousness. We only know of three states of consciousness: waking state, dream state, and deep sleep state. But the fourth state is known to the great rishis and munis. But Mata Rubani says that she is Turiya Atita. She is even beyond the fourth state, beyond the Jagrat, Sapun, Sushupti, and even the Turiya Avastha. Of form, I am omnipresent and immutable. I am a homogeneous mass of endless Ananda. I am that I am which is an endless spectre. Every realized yogi gives us the same description of the self, that principle which makes us conscious of our being. Vedanta also is not tired of saying this again and again. I am Atma Brahm, Pragyana Brahm, or Aham Brahmasmi. The question for all of us remains how to move from being to becoming. Let us ponder over these walks of Lalleshwari. If there are interpolations, if there are some additional walks which are not Mata Lalleshwari's walks, let scholars and researchers ponder over that. Let them do research and find out what is not Lalleshwari's or which are not Lalleshwari's original walks. But whatever little we know about that, let us ponder over those walks. Just, for example, when she says, Talushu Zustai Pyakshuknatan, Vantamali Man Kaupasanchu, Sori Sumrit Yeti Chi Matan, Vantamali Ankavaro Sanchu. She warns us that what you are doing in this world, what you are doing this object world, this is all falsehood, this is all unreal. This is all like quicksand. You will ultimately be sucked into this quicksand. Why are you doing what you are doing? How are you able to do that when you know that this is all transitory? I have to leave everything here. Why don't you find that real joy? Why don't you find the source of that real joy, that real truth? Sorry, somebody. You may collect whatever you, even this body of elements, you have to leave here. Your thoughts you have to leave here. Your intellect you have to leave. Everything will be turned to dust. Your vasanas will go with you. Your vasanas that you have accumulated over the period of time, over many janmas, that only will go with you. Everything you have to leave here. Why not to ponder over it and find what is the way out for me? What is my real purpose of being sent here as a human being? Namaskar. May Mata Lalleshwari all bless us. May Mata Lalleshwari bless us all. Namaskar, Maharaj.
Over to you, Sarah. Over to you, Sarah. Over to you, Sarah.
That's me.
Over to you, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah. Over to Sarah.
Would you like to say something briefly about the images? Let's have a look at the images because
please.
we missed them. Let's have a picture.
Let us see some of the pictures. Some of the pictures about Mata Lalleshwari's and the environment in which she was living. These are one or two pictures have been painted by my dear friend Razdanji only yesterday. He posted them to me only yesterday. This is the walk. Please show this again. Sarah, please show this walk again.
Yes, I'll come.
This. This is Bhojpatra. This is Bhojpatra walk of Mata Lalleshwari. Please show it again.
Apologies.
This is Bhojpatra. Garan Munnam Kunui Vatsun, Nebrai Dupnam Andaratun. Sui me Laliga walk to Vatsun. But she stops it here. Here is Viram. And then she says, Iti LallaVakyayani. That means the fourth line has, the writer has not included controversial fourth line, which is an interpolation, or it has been substituted for some other line which Mata Lalleshwari must have said. This shaluka is not complete here. This quatrain is not complete here. We can see it. I've shown this way, only this picture of the manuscript. This is Goran Munnam Kunui Vachun, Nebrai Dupnam Andarachun, Sui Lali Gav me Vakt Vachun. And it ends here. Purna Viram laga hua yahan par. And then it's written Ite Lalleshwari, Ite LallaVakyayani. That means that writer is not touching that fourth controversial line about that nakedness, etc. This is for the scholars to see which line could have been changed, how could it have been changed, what was the original word, whether that word means something else, because most of the Kashmiri used in these walks is archaic. There are a number of words which are no longer used in our spoken Kashmiri language nowadays. There are many words in these walks which we don't know. They are Kashmiri walks because over the last 500, 600, 700 years, many Arabic, Persian words have entered into our language. So this is pure Sanskritized Kashmiri that she is using. And anywhere, if you find a Persian word in her works, that is an interpolation, because she has not used any Persian words, because there was no Islamic or Persian. She was born when it was still a Hindu rule in Kashmir. And she passed away in 1392 when Sikandar Butchikandar just ascended the throne 3 years before her death. See, but Sikandar Butchikan, who plundered everything, he who obliterated every trace of Hindu history in Kashmir, ascended throne in 1389. Lalleshwari coiled up her mortal frame in 1392 at the age of 72. The other picture I want to show is the paintings that have been sent by our friend Razdanji. These are pictures about this painting has been done for me. This painting has been done for me by Ravi Darji yesterday. I had sent him pad. This picture picture has been sent by Ravi Darji for me. This painting I received just now in the morning today. I had sent him a walk of Mata Lalleshwari, and he drew this picture. He on a canvas. Yes, today morning he sent this picture to me. This I will read this. I will read the walk.
Questions from people in the comments.
Just a minute. Please give me a minute. Saraswati sodah kurum, haras kurum good sivai, haras kurum good sivai. Shere petkini natsan jutum, sheras petkin natsan jutum, gatsan jutum I am pats. I resolved within me to serve my Lord Hara wholeheartedly, with extreme love and devotion. I earnestly seated with the Lord at his feet. My devotion soon bore fruits. All the distance shrank, and I beheld him pervading everywhere, dancing over my head, Sheraspet, and I felt reassured. That is, I sent this walk to Ravi Darji, and he painted this picture for me. Just within 3, 4, 5 days, he painted. So very nice and so very kind of him. Show other pictures, Sarah. I want to show her. This is how, this is the riverfront at Pampora. This is her guru instructing her. This is the waterfront at Pampore where she was ultimately exposed. Her spiritual prowess was exposed. This is Pampore Ghat. And this is show the pictures of the saffron fields where her in-laws were. This is the environment. This is basically the environment where she spent her life in her in-laws. These are the saffron fields and the background mountains of Pampore. Thank you, Sarah. This is the old Kashmiri Pandit. This was the trust of Kashmiri Pandits during the times of Lal Deda.
There were some questions from people in the comments.
Any questions from people? I'm here to answer them.
I'll just take a look. I'll take a look for the questions. Just give me a moment.
Okay.
I can't see any
Okay, that's
actual
fine.
questions. I mean, there's a lot of people thanking you. There's a little discussion over that fourth line, but you can come back to that in the comments. I'll hand you
Right.
over now
Okay.
to Veronica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shall I close it now?
Thank you, AK Razdanji. Thank you
Thank you
for
very much. Thank you.
elaborating on the struggles and various other aspects of Lalded's life. Very beautifully presented, the beautiful pictures of the village and various other birch barks that you have shown.
Now
Thank
that
you
is
very
very
much.
important. That birch bark is very important because that line,
Yes.
that Tabahutum Nanga Natsun, is not indicated. As you can see, because you know Sharda language, your Sharda script, that line is not indicated. Why people are writing that, I don't know. I am not a master. I am not an expert on Lalla's writings. But why that line is not here is to be pondered over. Is a thing to be discussed for researchers. God bless you. God bless you.
Yes, that debunks even more myths about her works.
Yeah. And particularly one more important thing is that any Persian word or any Arabic word that you might find in her works, that is definitely an interpolation, because in 1320 it was still Hindu rule, and Islamic rule was not that very forcefully had not penetrated deeply into the social fabric of Kashmir. Therefore, those words might not have been so very quickly introduced into the Kashmiri language. It was Sanskritized Kashmir. Whatever is written in Sanskritized Kashmir is original work of Lalla. Others may not be. I'm not sure about that.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaskar, Madam. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.